Happy Veterans Day and welcome to a unique episode of Window to the Soul. I'm here with Rob Zamaro as a veteran, and we're talking about Veterans Day and the importance of veterans in the workplace. My name is Thomas Wiley. I am the Talent Acquisition Manager here at Renewal by Andersen of Central Virginia and Roanoke, and I served in the United States Marine Corps for almost 15 years. And I was retired in 2019.
Hey, so my name is Robert Zamaro. I'm the production manager here at Renewal by Andersen. I was in the United States Navy. Served for a little bit over 10 years.
All right, Rob, what is one thing that about your time in service that most people don't know about you?
Yeah, so this was actually a pivotal point in my military career, and really just learning from what had happened, and that was I was in Afghanistan in 2008, and we were just wrapping things up out there, and I got a phone call through the Red Cross, and my mother kind of like broke down and lost it, and didn't really know what to do, and so I called my mother back, and I was just, what is going on? And she said, your father and I are getting a divorce, and I was in the middle of missions, and my whole mindset changed. I wasn't in it at that moment, and it took me, a week or two to really figure out what I was going to do in the middle of missions that I was already doing out in Afghanistan, and it was just it sucked, but it made me who I am today, and I really learned from the dynamics of, what was going on. They're adults. This is their decision. Mm-hmm. I took it, I ran with it, and I continued to love both of them, whatever decisions it was that they were making. And they still supported me till this day, no matter what I did. Yeah. And really, I think anybody experiencing parents divorcing is, if you have that, in my opinion, I think things will be okay as long as you have that support from both of your parents.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it was rough, but I turned it into a positive thing, and my family's doing great. And yeah. What about you, Thomas?
Yeah. You'll know a lot about this one, actually. But on my second deployment, as a Marine, right? So, we go out on ship with you guys on a regular basis. So I deployed with the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit on the USS Pearl Harbor. So WOG Day, though, right? WOG Day, man. I don't talk about WOG Day all that much, right? So for those of you that don't know, when you go out on deployment with the Navy and you pass the equator for the first time, you have to You don't have to participate, but it's highly encouraged that you
tradition.
Do so. Right. It's tradition to participate in WOG Day, right? So you go through various what's the word I'm looking for, Rob? Stations.
Yep. Yep.
You go through various stations, and then towards the end of it, you actually earn your shellback status, right? So we had to wear our uniforms inside out. I think I low crawled throughout the entire ship. Ate things that I would rather not eat. I think I had to do a runway dance amongst a few other things, but it was fun. We had a great time. A lot of people don't know that, right? So, whenever you go out on ship with the Navy and you pass the equator or you cross the equator, you get to partake in those fun times. I know you've been there, so yeah.
Actually, let me correct you if I can for a second. I've actually learned something from you, because I knew the gist of it, mm-hmm. But you have to remember, as we get further in this conversation, I've never been on a ship.
Wait, okay. That's right. Due to your MOS, that's right.
I have never been on a ship.
That makes sense.
You've actually experienced more of the Navy than I have, because I was a dirt sailor.
Right.
I never knew what it was like to be on a ship and have that type of camaraderie with thousands of people. You meet somebody new every single day.
You do.
You know? And it's a whole different lifestyle being on a ship.
It is.
And
it really is.
Yeah, so that's actually a really cool story, because I've heard of them, mm-hmm. but I've never really got to talk to someone that actually has done it. So that's actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, and they actually give you this. They give you this little card to put in your wallet.
Yeah.
And then they give you this huge it's like a big poster that you can frame. Ironically enough, they spelled my last name the wrong way, and I wasn't about to ask for a new one, so I've got it hidden away and not hanging up. But no, you're right. It is definitely interesting. It was an experience that is it's interesting. It's an interesting one, being in such close quarters. But everybody plays along, and we get to where we need to go. So,
Thomas, what is one funny or memorable story that you've experienced in your military service?
There's a lot of them.
We can talk all day about this.
I know. This would be the majority of our conversation. So, I'll start with this, right? So the camaraderie that you have in the military. When you join the military, it's all about the guy to your left and right, guy or girl to the left and your right, and you work as a family. So a lot of the times when you're out training or getting ready for pre-deployment training or whatever the case may be, you spend a lot of time out in the field. Anyway, so part of my MOS when I initially joined the military was we would do what are called helicopter support teams. So anytime that something needs to be externally relocated from one place to another, the helicopters would come in, pick it up, and we were the crazy people underneath the helicopter as it hovered over us and stuff. Anyway.
Absolutely.
So we would have to jump in CH-53 and fly from San Diego Air Base or Camp Pendleton Air Base to Yuma, Arizona. And we'd get dropped off, and the pilots would go do their thing. Well, we're in the middle of this desert. And this kind of gives you a scope of the camaraderie that you feel. But we're in the middle of the desert. Pilots ain't going to come back for an hour and a half. We're going to be out there all night. Well, as part of a new Marine, okay, sometimes we do questionable things.
Mm-hmm. As all branches do.
There's a big hill, and we called it Chocolate Chip Mountain. There was a big hill, and up at the top of the hill, there was these tractor tires.
Yeah.
And you'd have to get all your gear on, your helmet, and all this other stuff, and you'd sit inside the tire. I'm sure you guys have seen videos across the internet like this, and they'd push you down the hill, and you'd tumble, and you'd go as far as you could go, and it was like a competition, right? Like, what new Marine can go the furthest?
Yeah.
And I don't know. So, while it was funny, a little painful at times, it kind of brings together that, when you think outside the box and you're out there with your team, you got to have fun with it.
You have to.
You got to have fun with it. So, but what about you, Rob? What about you?
Man, I feel like that spirit, that camaraderie never dies. And the reason why I say that is, the day I met you and found out that you were a Marine, it was, I didn't have to get to really know you anymore.
Right.
It was one of those things where like, he's a Marine, or she's in the Air Force, or, she was in the Coast Guard, whatever the case may be. The minute you spark that, this is what I used to do in the military.
Yeah.
It's that brotherhood, sisterhood, right back to where you first started again,
Yeah.
And that we were trained to always take care of each other. Mm-hmm. Culture in that fashion was very, very strict. It was, you always look for your six, you're taking care of everybody around you, no matter where they come from, whether it's a different country, nationality, different neighborhoods, all of these different things. Like, you learned about people in an instant.
Yeah.
And we had no other choice.
Yeah.
We're the ones watching each other's backs. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like carrying that into things that we do till this day goes hand in hand with everything that we do. But man, funny memory for me is, everybody knows at this company that I'm a jokester. I love to crack jokes. I like to do all these things. Well, I've been like that ever since I joined the military. And so, a lot of people are like, Rob, you have to be serious sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be serious when it's time to be serious. So right now I'm going to go ahead and lighten the mood, and we're going to have fun. So, it's 2008, getting ready to head to Ethiopia for humanitarian orders. Our main mission out there is to finish building some schools and hospitals for the kids. Mm-hmm. And so I'm ecstatic because I get to hang out with the kids. I get to see what it's like around there, and I get to, hang out with them. And anyway, so I'm going through, and I'm getting my passport, and you guys maybe see this somewhere else, but I did want to share this passport that we had to take in Ethiopia, because that's where I was headed to, Addis Ababa. And Stephen, I don't know if you maybe show this later or whatnot, but it's a really comical photo. And there it is, right there.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. I wish you could zoom in on this, man, but this is like the greatest thing ever. And it looks exactly the same. Look at that.
I haven't grown, I haven't done anything, but if you can take a peek, It's actually really comical, and it's great. But maybe we'll take a photo of it and post it somewhere so everybody can share and continue to make fun. But these are the things I love doing. And people do make fun, and I don't get my feelings hurt because that's my main objective. I love smiling. I love continue sharing that with everybody because at the end of the day, there's no reason to be serious all the time. This world is just needs a couple smiles and hanging out.
Absolutely. I agree. Tell me a little bit about what motivated you to join the service.
Okay.
And then what led you to come to RBA, man?
Oh, man. So there was a very emotional experience for me on why I joined the military. A lot of people join the military for many reasons, and all those reasons are not wrong reasons. I would never take that away from people wanting to join just to pay for schooling. Whatever the case may be, the military offers all these great things. But why I joined the military is when 9/11 happened. Yeah. I was a junior in high school. I remember being locked down in the auditorium when this had happened. And I didn't know what to think. I was just like, wow, our country's under attack. All these things are going on. What are you going to do, Rob? What are your plans for after this? And I didn't really have a plan, but I knew I wanted to make a difference in this country and support it. And at that time I was like, I'm just going to join the military. And I think this is something that I really want to do. And I took about a month or two to really think about what I wanted to do. And my parents would always ask me, like, what are you going to do? You can't stay here after you turn 18, and you're not just going to live off of us. And that was great. They motivated me to not live off of them. So, I came home and I said, Mom, Dad, it was dinner time. I said, hey, can you sign this waiver? I was getting ready to turn 17, going into my senior year. They're like, well, what is this? And I was like, I'm joining the Navy. I'm going to be deploying the minute I graduate. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, where are you headed to? They had no idea. I had no idea.
Right.
And so I just remember they were like, my recruiter was like, hey, these are the things that you can do. And I was like, mind blown. You guys promised the world, and choose your right, choose your fate.
Right. Exactly.
But at the end of the day, I'll never regret any of my experiences because obviously that's who I am today. But that was the main driver of why I joined the military was 9/11. And, after they had signed off on my waiver and I graduated high school, that was it. I was off to MEPS. I hit boot camp and I hit the ground running in Iraq on my 18th birthday. So it was wild for me. Especially in my very early years. All my friends are still back home playing video games, talking about where they're going to go out and try and maybe drink some beers underage. And I'm just like, what is going on? And it just wasn't my mentality. I just wanted to do a little bit more for myself, whether I was joining the military or getting into a profession or whatever the case may be. But I didn't want to be stuck into doing the same thing over and over, as I saw with friends that I've had growing up. They just got comfortable, and that's what it was for them. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. What made you join the military?
I just needed,
You just needed free schooling. All right, so you were one of those guys. No, I'm just kidding.
While I'm using the free schooling now,
which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think I just needed something to do outside of what was normal for me.
Absolutely.
I grew up in a Metro Detroit area, so there was opportunities for to automotive industry and things like that, but I kind of looked at school not so highly at the time, so I just needed to get out of where I was, the element that I was in. And initially I was looking at the Navy because my stepdad, his whole family was like the Navy history. And then I went to a workout with Marines one time, and I was like, this is me. I was hooked, right? So nothing against, but I was just hooked. Right?
We don't really work out a whole lot like you guys do.
So, but no, I was motivated. I mean, I went to the recruiting office every week. I mean, that was something that I could be a part of outside of, just school and friends and everything else. So, my 18th birthday, I went to MEPS, I joined, and that was September of my senior year. So I knew where I was going my whole senior year.
That's awesome.
And then when I graduated, 3 weeks later, I was gone. I was in boot camp. And my first 4 weeks there, I was extremely regretful of what I did. But it grew on me while I was there because they just absolutely, destroy you down there at boot
Absolutely.
camp. So, but no, I have no regrets. The same thing as you. I remember watching 9/11 in gym class, ironically, and there's that 1% out there that just knows that they have that calling,
Yeah.
or that less than 1%, and it's I don't really see it as a hard decision. I
Sure.
didn't see it as a hard decision.
Absolutely.
But no, I mean, I was in Iraq before my 1 year mark in the military, so
Yep.
that was a really quick transition right around 2005,
Yep.
2006. I mean, they were doing rotations so much. It helped me grow up quickly. Everything
Yes.
that I had was mine, right?
Yes.
I had earned my place. I was paying my bills. I was living my life in San Diego, California,
Yep. What a
so
better place to
I
be.
know exactly, right? So, and that's what I took pride in, and
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons that I stayed in so long. But was just being able to say, you know what, I've earned everything that I have now, and the military gave me a great start to my life, and has ultimately led to me being here. So, once I retired and I had to navigate the civilian world, I was a little lost.
Yeah.
The culture from the military to the civilian life is much different. So I bounced around a little bit in different positions. But ultimately, what I was looking for was the same thing that I had in the military, right?
Yeah.
Culture and leadership.
Yes.
Without those two things, it's really hard to find your place within a company. And I found that here. I found that here immediately within my first week. And I haven't looked back. I love this company. And, as we continue to work together to get things done, on the operation side and things like that, I mean, it's just a wonderful place to be. So,
Absolutely. And you touch on a great things because I really didn't get that far into it. But yeah, you kind of hit it on the head with the leadership thing. And I did the same thing when I got out. I had no idea what I was going to
yeah.
do. I was like, I'm going to go get this job. I got my first job working for a small restaurant company that does commercial dish machines. And, I was like, I was making a little bit of money. And so I was like, what am I going to do? And this is the whole transition from military to civilian. Sometimes we're lost.
Yeah.
We have no idea. No one's really taught us what it's like to be a civilian anymore, even though that's where we started.
Yep.
But we don't know how to act going into the civilian world after the military. We have the TAPS program. It's the the tuition assistance program or transition assistance program?
Yeah, transition assistance, yeah.
And that was great, but I mean, it gave you enough just to try and start figuring things out.
100%.
And so, trying to hop around from these little small jobs, I came across and people talk nothing good things about Renewal by Andersen. And I've known about them for such a long time, but I was doing great at my other job at
Right.
that point. And so I was like, you know what? The minute things didn't go well at that company, and this is, working for family and all of these different things, and it just didn't work out. So I came here, and I fell in love with this place, kind of like on day one. It's the culture. We have our ups and downs wherever you work,
Every company does.
but working here, that was a big driver for me. Culture and leadership, and the possibilities of what upper leadership allows us to do within the company, whether that's veterans getting together, celebrating veterans, the things that we do on Memorial Day for military, just all of these different things. I love a company that recognizes us and our fellow brothers and sisters to be able to continue, great traditions that we carry throughout the country. So
Yep. It's invaluable. And, I think that there's a lot of places out there that, saying is different than doing. Right?
Absolutely.
And this company does. So
Yeah, I mean, look at your shirt.
I know, right?
I don't know a lot of companies that have branded military
connections.
shirt. Absolutely.
We were looking at the coins over here earlier. So
Yes.
yeah, no, and Renewal by Andersen and Andersen Windows has the military connection program too. So.
And if you wouldn't mind, so RBA has a military coin.
Yeah.
Andersen itself, our parent company, has a military coin. So there's all these different things that they give back to us to just give their appreciation
Dude.
which is really amazing. I'm a little jealous that he has the RBA one, but I like both very much.
I bought mine. You had yours presented too. That's the difference.
What do you think we can do to continue honoring our veterans as a company?
Honestly, veterans don't look for any special treatment. They don't. They want to be known
You are
as
so right. You are so
they
right.
want to be known as regular people. Our experiences, I think, make us people wonder. Want to ask questions sometimes. Anyway, but the majority of our veterans, they just want to be regular people. They want to fit in with everybody else.
Yeah. They want to be heard from the civilian side of things now.
They do. Yeah,
They
absolutely.
don't want to be looked at as, you guys are just veterans.
Right.
Like, we want to be a part of community again.
Yeah, and it's not whether you spent 20 years in or 2 years in, you answered the call that your country wanted you to answer, and you don't question it, right? So when you're told to go do something, whether that's deploy, whether that's field op, it doesn't matter what. If you're told to throw a cotton ball on the ground as hard as you can until it makes a noise, you do it.
Yeah.
Because that's just what the military does, right? They instill that instant willingness and obedience to orders. But when we get out, we want to just build our lives like everybody else. We want to remember our time in the military, but we also want to continue to build on what we've already established, right? So what can we do? I say just continue to, when you have interactions with veterans, treat them like everybody else, but just know that their minds are, they're thinkers.
Yeah.
They're thinkers. Their experiences can lead to great answers, and we just want to fit in. And typically, we're the jokesters too. I think.
Yeah.
I think that that's what helps create camaraderie from being transitional in the military to coming to the civilian world is when it's time to play, it's time to play, but when it's time to get down to business, we know exactly when to shut that off.
Yeah.
I think just treat everybody the same and go from there. I think it's really simple, actually.
It is very simple. And honestly, I'd probably say the same thing is just keep it simple. We love to just be a part of what everybody else is doing. I also feel like there's a big disconnect, and that's kind of still on us veterans. And what I mean by that is like the veterans and people in service currently, we have a ton of things that really disconnect us from the rest of the public. Like we have the VFW, we have the American Legion, we have all of our own clubs that really don't intermix with the public. Now, the event side of things, yes, they do, but why not have more interaction with veterans and the things that we do? And I would love to see more programs that we can do within community and things like that, but just really keeping it simple. And involving those who have that type of leadership experience that maybe want to help in different areas, whether you're working for free or just maybe, you get paid to do it. We love helping people, and I don't really know many veterans that don't like helping people.
That's true.
I think you hit it on the head again too, is just keeping it simple. There's nothing that we really look for as far as a pat on the back, because to us it's just like, we had a great time. You have no idea the great time I had with my brothers and sisters while I was in the military. Now we're here to have fun with everybody else.
Exactly.
And talks among ourselves for those that have been in the military, and share stories with people that haven't, because they have no idea sometimes.
And there's a lot of misconceptions out
There
there.
is.
Yeah,
There
there's
is.
a ton of them. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's interesting when the regular population looks inward to the military, right? They're like, man, these guys get to shoot big guns, and they're doing, enhanced marksmanship, and they're doing all this cool stuff. That was like another Monday to us.
It was.
It's different. So, but
I think the funny one was like, oh, they were in the military. They got like special military grade everything. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like,
it's the lowest
military
bidder, bro.
grade. I feel like we buy the stuff from the lowest bidders.
It is.
We get not great high-end stuff.
Yep. Yep.
It's just funny, yeah, when the public thinks about all the things that we have, but at the end of the day, we're still working on World War II tools
Exactly.
sometimes. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah. Yeah. Your
It's
MVGs go
comical.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's comical. You know, you get your potato bag and you got all your random stuff in there, and it's great. It's
Your
great.
gas mask won't seal.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's funny. It is not like a lot of people think it is, and I think many veterans out there are probably gonna laugh because they understand
Yep.
it's nothing like, you know, society thinks it is.
Yep.
It's funny.
Duct tape is one of the greatest things you can have in the military. It fixes
Yes.
everything.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, what is one piece of advice that you would give a veteran looking to start a new career path?
Yeah. So, you know, when you get out, you feel lost, right? You feel like, oh man, what am I going to do? My biggest thing is start networking with all the resources that you've been given. You know, take all of the leadership things that you've learned in the military, really hone in on those specific skill sets, on what you think is going to be valuable to what you're really looking for when you get out of the military. Whether that's going into leadership positions, whether that's going into maybe construction field, there's always ways to get that, you know, all of that knowledge and things, experience that you've done in the military, and just start molding it to how it's going to be most effective
Yeah.
in your next job.
Yep.
Because, you know, I brought some show and tell things, and, you know, for me it was, you know, the Blue Jackets manual, and there's many publications of this and many editions, and they just keep updating. But, you know, this is one of the biggest resources that the Navy gives, and this is a guidance to how we really operate in the Navy, whether it's when to salute, you know, how ships are set up, you know, what TAPS is, all of these different things. And I really think if you get that information and apply those type of guidances and processes within whatever you're trying to do in life after the military, I think you're going to be super successful. And at the end of the day, you know, just develop those skill sets, because I've told people around here, and I tell the people I work with now, learn as much as you can, because they're not going to be able to take that away from you. Whether
Right.
you leave and go somewhere else, you have a skill set that'll last you forever.
Yeah.
And don't stop building on that. And I think my last thing that I would say to that is be coachable. You know, be coachable. Don't be one that, you know, shuts down and the know-it-all, because I am in the military, I have all of these great leadership things. I have a ton of great leadership when I came out of the military, but it is way different than coming into
Sure
leadership
is.
into the civilian world.
Sure is.
There's half the things I can't even say. You know, there's times I want to come in here and I'm just like, boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
But you can't do that.
Right.
You know, there's an approach to everything. And I think if you start to learn and develop how you're going to apply those things, things are going to be very, very well for you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think you hit on a key point there, is really the intangible skill sets. You know, you at any given time, from the time that you enter the military to the time you ultimately leave, you're developing those intangible skill sets, right? So your leadership and development, your managerial style, you'll see it from, you know, good and bad leaders in the military. So, you know, definitely continue to build on top of those once you get out. But I would say, you know, when it comes time for you to separate from the military, just relax, right? It's gonna be okay. That transition can be scary, and you know, I definitely think the military could do something a little bit better to make that transition a little smoother.
I wish I would have relaxed more.
I-
That's good though. I love that.
because I didn't relax. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, what
You
am I
freaked
gonna
out.
do? Right? Like, how am I going to? You know, I'm not going to get a job making this much money. I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, so you have a lot of things. I have to move and I have to do all these things. But you know, once you get placed and you know you're back home, or you're settled in.
Yeah.
You know, I'd say as a talent acquisition manager, one of those big things is to focus in on what you want to do and how you want to market yourself.
Yep.
So in the military, we use acronyms for everything. Everything.
Absolutely.
So we want to make sure that you know, the resume that we're putting out there towards any potential employers makes sense. You know, they're not going to understand TTPs and all these other things, SOPs. I mean, they're just not going to understand all that, right? So, you know, a lot of talent acquisition teams they'll say, what does this mean? And they'll just bypass it. So don't do yourself the injustice. You know, sit down with a veteran who's been out for a while, find resources, and really hone in on that and change some of those translations to what, civilians understand, right?
Yeah.
And then I would say on top of that, as you alluded to, coaching, be coachable. You're just because you're a veteran doesn't mean that you have all the greatest ideas in the world. Be coachable, be
Yeah.
humble, and do what the military taught us to do, and step into those roles when you get an opportunity to.
Yeah.
Don't be overly humble, but focusing on the intangible traits that the military taught you,
Yeah.
and be an asset to that company. So yeah, it's a great question.
That is. It's a really great question.
That's it.
That's it.
Thank you guys.
Man, no,